Okay, so this is my lesson presentation. So my lesson will be over reinforcing ecosystem vocabulary. It's a sixth grade level lesson. The time frame will be about 30 minutes, less than a normal class period, just because it's more of a reinforcing activity and not introducing new material. My subject is obviously middle school science, and my topic is ecosystem vocabulary. My standard that I went off of was construct an explanation that predicts patterns of interactions among organisms across multiple ecosystems. Through this activity, students will be able to tell the difference between a food web and a food chain, and students will be able to recall vocabulary terms on ecosystems. Now, I want them to be able to recall these terms because they would have been terms that we learned in previous lessons the past few days in class, hypothetically. The materials used for this class are going to be a student journal, semantic feature analysis, and concept circle worksheet. So, for the warm up activity, I'm going to have the students complete it in their journal. They're going to tell me what's the difference between a food web and a food chain. And then they're going to also draw an example of each of them because they're diagram descriptions. And then I told them to be prepared to share because I'm going to have maybe 2 to 4 students share what they got for this answer and share their drawings with the class so that we can all be on the same page of what the correct answer is. Then I'm going to do an activity where we're going to come up with definitions together for the words carnivore, herbivore, and omnivore because they have to do a lot with like ecosystems and like the food chains and food webs. And the answers that I'm looking for the students to hopefully share with me, we're just going to raise our hands for this activity, is that a carnivore is an animal that eats meat, an herbivore is an animal that eats plants, and an omnivore is an animal that eats plants and animals. So my first activity, like with the lesson, is going to be a semantic feature analysis. And with this activity, you can see on the left, I have animals listed there, like a tiger, deer, bear. And then on the top, I have carnivore, herbivore, and omnivore. The students are going to tell me what that animal, like what category that animal falls in. If I were to do this activity in the class, this is just a small example. I would probably have about 20 different animals, and they're going to be basic animals, not like exotic animals, so the students don't get like super frustrated and they can kind of know because these have been animals we've been going over in class. So my last activity that I'm going to do, and I think it's a really good assessment, like to see if they are getting the vocabulary, is concept circles. So with this, I'm going to discuss the other vocabulary from the section, which is going to be prey, predator, producer, consumer, decomposer, ecosystem, community, organism, habitat, parasite, and environment. And if you can see down below my concept circle, I made this one and I put 4 key terms in there. I put organism, decay, worm, breaks down, and the vocabulary term that all of those key words and phrases have in common is decomposer. So with this activity, that vocabulary term would actually be blanked out, and that is what I want the students solving, is that vocabulary term. And so I hope by giving them these keywords and phrases, it's really reinforcing what it actually does and kind of helps them also give like a definition for it. So, like a decomposer is an organism that breaks down like plants or like decay, and like an example of a decomposer would be a worm. And so I'm hoping that they can like pick and choose those little pieces to help them remember the actual term. And I'm hoping that through this activity it'll help later on with a formal assessment, so students can understand and do well on that because they know the vocabulary of the section. So that was my little mini lesson. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks.